I get a little teary when I try to express to you all who Kim is to me. Um, we've had a multidimensional and amazing relationship over the last 10 years. Um, really, 20 years, 20 years. And what I want to say is, I have a challenged relationship with poetry. And when I read poetry, my ADD brain goes a little bit like it's just, it just fries. And then I met Kim. And Kim has done so much deep spiritual work on herself. The pathways, what was that? Used to be a
The
pathwork.
pathwork.
Pathwork. So she used to be a very respected teacher in the pathwork community. Pathwork is a very deep spiritual tradition from the East Coast and around the world. And I'd heard her share her work, which you're about to hear. And what is the phenomenon? That because Kim has done her work and has absorbed this poem in every dimension possible, when she speaks it, there's not an ounce of me that doesn't understand it. But when I try to read it, I couldn't possibly tell you what it is. So I think the best way to start, Kim, is to give people. Let's see, I didn't really introduce you. You're going to have to go to Kim at kimrosen.net, or no, it's kimrosen.net. Kim has performed on the Madison Square Garden stage for Eve Ensler's events. Kim has written a book that is the most poetic piece of prose I have ever read, called Saved by a Poem. This book is a masterpiece of understanding the role that poetry plays and has played since the beginning of time for the human species. And it's a really phenomenal book, Saved by a Poem. I can say many more things about you, my dear, but the best way to do it is for you to just invite us into how to listen to what you're about to share with us. And one last thing I want to say. I had the great honor of being at a listening party at Kim's house where we listened to she and Jami Sieber's new masterpiece called Feast of Losses. Now, as someone that came out with something 22 years ago designed to create a musical experience to simmer in the grief experience, I had never heard anything created since I tried to do it that did such a phenomenal job at helping people be with the center, and all of the experience of grief. And so I literally said at the end of that listening, what can I do to help people know? And one of the things I'm delighted about is, you'll know more that I recommend people are doing this, creating listening parties for us to listen together to Feast of Losses. And I want to really recommend that you invite like 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 people and listen to this album from beginning to end. It's a masterpiece. And so I will hand the baton because I want it to be more about you now. So let's go. Tell us more about this work, and you're going to do it. Okay.
Thank you, Gary. To me, Gary is the Sat Guru of the power of spoken word and music. I think one of the superpowers of spoken word and music is to create an alchemy, a medicine against which the mind has no hope of maintaining its defenses, and the heart has no hope of keeping its walls up. And so thank you, Ken, and thank you, Scott, and thank you, Elijah. It's been extraordinary to be here, and I want to offer the next 11 minutes or so to everyone who's here to listen, yes, to the poetry and the music, but let it be a listening to yourself as you well up from within. I was thinking as I was listening to Ken that really what a poem does is it speaks the wisdom of grieving from inside you. And so, as if these words were coming from inside you, feel free to close your eyes or even turn away from your screen and let yourself steep in this and see what rises. to greet it. The music is by Jami Sieber, and I will tell you the names of the poems at the end, so no worries about writing anything down. Let yourself lean back and listen to yourself. Wave of sorrow, do not drown me now. I see the island, still ahead somehow. I see the island, and its sands are fair. Wave of sorrow, take me there. I have walked through many lives, some of them my own. And I am not who I was, although some principle of being abides, from which I struggle not to stray. When I look back, as I am compelled to look before I can proceed on my journey, I see the milestones dwindling towards the horizon, and the slow fires from the abandoned campsites over which scavenger angels wheel on heavy wings. Oh, I have made a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to its feast of losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly stings my face. Yet I turn, exulting somewhat, with my will intact, to go wherever I need to go, and every stone on the road precious to me. In my darkest night, when the moon was covered and I roamed through wreckage, a nimbus-clouded voice directed me. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. I am not done with my changes. Wave of sorrow, do not drown me now. I see the island, still ahead somehow. I see the island, and its sands are fair. Wave of sorrow, take me there. How shall the heart be reconciled to its feast of losses? the thing is to love life, even if you have no stomach for it. When everything you've held dear crumbles like burnt paper in your hand, your throat filled with the silt of it. When grief sits with you, its tropical heat thickening the air, heavy as water, more fit for gills than lungs. When grief weights you like your own flesh, only more of it, an obesity of grief. You think, how can a body stand this? Then you take life like a face between your palms, and you say, yes, I will take you. I will love you again. When grief weights you like your own flesh, only more of it, an obesity of grief. You think, how can a body stand this? Then you hold life like a face between your palms, a plain face, no charming smile, no violet eyes. And you say, yes, I will take you. I will love you again. Oh, I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to its feast of losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly stings my face. Yet I turn, exultant somewhat, with my will intact to go wherever I need to go, and every stone on the road precious to me. In my darkest night, when the moon was covered and I roamed through wreckage, a nimbus-clouded voice directed me. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. I am not done with my changes. Wave of sorrow, do not drown me now. I see the island still ahead somehow. I see the island and its sands are fair. wave of sorrow. Take me there. Thank you.
Let's just take a moment in silence together. Let's digest that and breathe into that journey we've just been on. Thank you, Kim.
That was, the poems were a poem which I'll put in the chat after Gary and I are complete here. I'll put all the credits in the chat. But the first poem is Island by Langston Hughes. Second poem is The Layers by Stanley Kunitz. And interwoven with The Layers was a poem called The Thing Is by Ellen Bass. So I'm just going to change my microphone here so we can talk a little.
Having only a few moments to ask you a few questions is like looking at a feast and only being able to have an appetizer or a taste of it. Because I literally could spend an hour, and that's why I'm going to create a podcast called Islands of Inner Peace to have you as a guest for that someday, and I'm sure we'll have you on again. Why don't you share a little bit about, well, whatever, the two things that I'm thinking about is your understanding of the experience of poetry as it's experienced with music, and just what, because this is your career, you've been doing this for so many years. Just say a little bit about what you know about or suspect about how we listen to these sentiments and depths of words with music when it comes to the way you deliver it.
Well, I tried to put into words, as I have and you have more eloquently than actually anyone I know, how the heart and the mind really have no defense against certain collaborations of poetry and music. So what might be a teaching becomes an infusion, or I guess the word could also be maybe a transmission, but really an infusion, and as in welling up from inside. And how does that happen? I actually could say a little bit about the biochemistry of how that happens, with the entrainment in the rhythms of the poetry and the music is really no different than the entrainments to a shaman's drum, where the pulsations of the body, the multiple pulsations of the body start getting entrained into a rhythm, and it actually creates biochemical shifts, which change the pulsations of the cerebrospinal fluid, which change the pulsations of the fluids in the sac around the brain, which change the brain waves, which allows a kind of opening, a kind of unlocking of the brain, so that another kind of knowing and experience can arise. So I always say that poetry uses the mind to unlock the mind. Poetry uses the mind to unlock the mind, to go beyond the mind, so that whatever the deeper wisdom, and the wisdom may come in tears, the wisdom may come in yowls, the wisdom may come in roars, it may come in dance, and it may come in insight, but it doesn't come from anything that's been thought before. It comes fresh in this moment because of the shifts that happen. And, struck by so much of what you said, but one thing you said that was simple was that, and then he started weeping and I held him. And poetry and music literally holds us. And as human beings, for whatever reason, we fare better with a container that we can melt in. The old caterpillar metaphor, like if that caterpillar didn't have the cocoon, it would be a mess. But poetry and music, like even 12 minutes of poetry and music with a beginning, middle, and end, lets our energetics and especially our hypervigilant ego know that something else is holding us together so we can let go and melt.
It's so beautiful, Kim. And this is the thing. We have like I said, we could talk more about this. And we either choose to talk more about it or give you the chance to do one more poem. And although it's a little bit longer than we probably need to shift in about 5 minutes, but 7 minutes, I would rather just give you another chance to do one more poem, because that way we get to really be held by your beautiful work. And I do. Oh, there's an echo. So I do suggest that you get Feast of Losses, and you'll find out more about how to do that later when we do all the promo stuff. But Kim, are you open to doing one more?
I would love to do one more, and I will say this is a poem on the album. They're all my favorite poem, but I've never done this one live before, so it will be an adventure. It's a poem that I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, know deeply, and it's my hope and prayer that it arises.
What I want to say is just one thing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Somebody said in the chat, you're the most beautiful reader of poetry. I really want to make people understand. Kim is not reading anything. She's memorized everything so that we could get it digested in a way, body, mind, heart, and soul. So just remember that this is an art form that is about coming from you, not reading. Okay? Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Kim.
Thank you for clarifying that. I actually don't like the word memorize. I like the word learned by heart, which I could go on and on about, but I won't, because I want Mary Oliver to speak to you with Jami Sieber's music and an incredible posse of musicians, which you will hear on this piece. So once again, I invite you to perhaps take a couple deep breaths, and if you'd like to, feel free to close your eyes and turn away from your screen if you like, and listen to yourself in the steeping of this music and poetry. When death comes, like the hungry bear in autumn. When death comes and takes all the bright coins out of his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut. When death comes, like the measles pox. When death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades. I want to step through that door, full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And so I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I think of time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life like a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular, and each name a comfortable music on the tongue, ending as all music does, towards silence. And each body a lion of courage, and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride, married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to find myself sighing and fearful or full of argument. I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to end up simply having visited this earth. When it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride, married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When death comes, like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins out of its purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut. When death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through that door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And so I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I think of time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility, and I think of each life like a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular, and each body a lion of courage, and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride, married to amazement. I was the bridegroom, taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. When Death Comes by Mary Oliver, music by Jami Sieber, and a slew of other musicians I will put in the chat.
I want to invite everyone to put their hands up in gratitude for this extraordinary artist, this this woman that embodies and absorbs and assimilates for us these poems and delivers them in a way that we can understand and use practically for awakening our lives. Kim, I love you so much. I'm so grateful you said yes at such short notice. And there's so much more. Can we show the screen of this gorgeous, gorgeous masterpiece, Feast of Losses? I just get the chills just thinking about what you'll experience. And again, if you allow yourself to listen to this, we don't listen anymore in this culture without looking at something. It's another loss, you know. And right now, I want to invite you to imagine what if listening itself was a transformative tool to becoming the best version of who you are, because I know that it's true. And this work, especially at this time, it's medicine for our times in a way that will allow you to be a bride to amazement, as Mary Oliver says. Because it gives forth, it gives birth to a radical form of gratitude for everything that is.